I was staying at a producer's house, and I went over, and where the Gideon's Bible should have been in the bedside table was the hippopotamus. And I read it and I thought, oh, this is brilliant. Then I went to film school, and then I started a company, and then I did lots of short films, and then I did another feature, and then eventually I got around to making the hippopotamus.
Were there chats with Stephen Fry early on about this, or?
He wanted to stay away from us. Well, that's the wrong way of saying be gone. He said, if I get too involved, I'm going to end up squashing you. And I think he actually wrote me this very beautiful letter about it having to exist in the hearts and minds of the people who are going to take it forward. And but I think he wanted us to turn it into our own thing. And it's very true to him and the book. We've changed a lot, but I think it's a good filmic representation of the novel.
So let's have, because you've just seen it you've come over from Belgium to see it.
I've come from New York to see
it. Obviously more impressive.
Yes, but it was the first time, and I've really enjoyed it. I really have. It's always odd when you first appear on screen and see yourself, but I was completely enamored, and well done, everybody. It's really, because I think it's a gem, and I think it translated really well onto screen.
And this is the first, you've obviously seen it.
Second for me. Yeah.
Second for you, okay.
It's even better the second time. So.
Yes, no, it was the first time I'd seen it, and it shows when something's funny, I was so tense watching it, and I still laughed out loud at least 4 or 5 times, I'd say. I think the second time I laughed more.
I suppose that the thing about Ted, Roger, is that he has this kind of integrity that runs through the film. It's not an integrity that's immediately apparent to us, but given what happens as the film progresses, that's the way increasingly we do feel about him.
My thought was sort of old Soho characters like George Melly and people like that from a slightly different age. And when I met Stephen and talked about it, he said his model for it was Simon Gray. All of whom were very, very good thoughts. But when I read the book and then when I read the script, you just think, oh, well, I really want that. What a really good part. I just want to play that. And I certainly don't want anyone else to play it. So that was my approach, basically. Utter integrity in a selfish kind of way.
Yeah, well, that seems appropriate. And Fiona, I suppose the other thing is, as things become more extraordinary as the film progresses, it's kind of keeping it sort of a kind of normal and natural sort of centre in there, which I feel your character does.
Yes, well, John said when I met her, you said that she's a very gentle person, and you don't associate gentleness with a comic evening. And in that way, I was just thinking as watching it too, that it's something about Stephen Fry, whose wit is sort of unstoppable, and he's been reincarnated entirely in Roger. I mean, this is built for Roger, conceived, whether you liked it or not, when you found that book on the side table. Roger was there. But it is somehow autobiographical in some investigative way about magic versus the science of wit, or the absolute secularization of wit, isn't it? It's an extraordinary mix of romance of a gorgeous country house, gorgeous visitors coming, and yet, so yes, I felt watching it very like Anne, I think, a bit bewildered about whatever he was doing there.
And Emily, for you, I mean, you're the sort of the straight guy in it, the straight woman, aren't you?
Yeah, and she sort of has to set it all up. I read the book and thought it's sort of tempting to want to be at the house and be doing all the kind of crazy stuff with the horse and so on, but no, not exactly, but be involved in that bit of the story.
But yes, here tonight,
yes, it's great, yeah. But yes, no, I had to very much be the sort of. It's very serious for Jane. It really is life and death for her, and without those stakes, it doesn't really mean anything.
did you have any particular models in mind of the kind of film, the kind of shape that it might have?
I knew once I found the right people, or rather, once the right people agreed to be in it, then I knew that we would focus down on them, and that they had enough strength and range to carry all those tonal shifts, and it was never a worry. I think there was some balancing we had to do in the edit, and making sure that we didn't lose people as those tonal shifts happened. But I think actually, when you have really surprising things happen in the script, that enables you to do tonal shifts. Like the Crying Game, you have that extraordinary surprise, and it's also a sudden huge tonal shift in the film. And I think when the audience gets shocked like that, it is a bit of a palate cleanser. And then you can do different things, and I think that's
And most of those shocks are because of your character, of course. So again, there's that sort of, but you still have to keep the innocence. You have to keep that sort of bouncy innocence.
Yeah. We like when we spoke about David originally, we said that we wanted him to be like not quite aware of like how special he is. Like, so he's given off. I can't think of the word, but he's given off sort of. Like he's deluded, and he really believes that he's unique in that, but he still had to keep his purity to him. Like this, he's not putting himself above anybody else, because that's against his whole philosophy in himself. So keeping him, pure and honest. I think that's sort of how we try to approach it.
So I mean, it's not a film. Obviously, it's a film that, as you say, Stephen Fry's wit and things. But there are still one or two kind of quite spectacular sight gags involving boats and water, and they did make you run around a bit, horses. Yes.
Yes. Stephen didn't make the character do that. I think
No.
John made it.
I did wonder about that.
I'm not sure you did all of them, though, Roger. I don't know. And I know certain of them you only did once.
Yes.
Oh, well, but there was one that couldn't have been, where you definitely do emerge from the water with the. So what was this place? Were you literally filming all just in one location?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's all in one location. It's West Wickham Park, and you'll notice in the film there's a sequence where Ted is just opening doors, and that's because we wanted to shoot in every room in the house, and we did, and the roof. No one's ever filmed on that roof before. Yeah, they were great. It's West Wickham Park. It's a sort of early 18th century country palace that a guy built after he'd done his grand tour and decided he was having quite a lot of fun doing his grand tour and wanted to continue having quite a lot of fun. So it's, there's quite a lot of risque murals, and yeah, it's a nice place.
The caves are there as well, aren't they? The
Hellfire Club.
The Hellfire Club.
A lot of the houses we were looking at when we were trying to find a place to shoot, we'd sort of find somewhere that worked, and then Jay, my producer, would go off and have the sort of conversation about what happens in the film. And 3 or 4 places turned us down when we told them about the magic semen. And with West Wickham Park, they said, "Oh no, we've been doing that sort of thing since 1730. It's really fine. It's absolutely normal here."
Did you pick up any of the Hellfire vibes, do you think?
It's something in the water.
Okay, so question for you, Lynn. If you come from New York and you don't live in Britain, as I understand it, there's stuff. Do you think this comedy is, I mean, it's a kind of nice version of the whole sort of country house or even detective sort of idea, but do you think it is also the kind of humour that's very particularly British?
I think so. I really do. And the house gave us so much. I mean, it's a platform where we got to be creative, and it had a certain feel, and you had all these characters arriving there, and it was just, I think, the perfect location for us to, make this story. I can't believe how horrible I was to my daughter.
You were pretty bad.
I'm absolutely the worst mother, and I remember, because Emma and I, we got along really, really well. And before every take, I had to just look at her and say, "You little shit." And she was always so shocked, but I needed to do that because we were giggling the whole time. And I just needed to get back to that point. And it was just so, it was an eerie place that helped us do that. I remember shooting in the basement.
Yeah.
Which was so strange, and but it just gave us so much to play with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much for coming.